The number one story in the NBA right now, if you just kind of ignore the whole Kawhi Clippers cheating scandal thing, is Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors, who have been in a month-long contract dispute. And it's a dispute that is holding up the entirety of whatever the Warriors are trying to be this upcoming season. It's mid-September. They still don't have Kuminga signed, and they only have 9 guys on the roster for next year because of a bunch of different things. The Kuminga situation is holding up their entire team. We're finally getting some updates on what's been happening over the last few months and what we can expect moving forward. Now, if you're unaware, Jonathan Kuminga is a restricted free agent, which in the NBA means that if he wants to, he can go out and sign a new contract with a different team, but the Warriors have the option to match any contract that he signs. And given that it is mid-September, there's no money left in the NBA for other teams to offer him, and it was kind of a limited offseason in terms of free agency spending in the first place, which is how you have a contract stalemate for literally months between Kuminga and the Warriors. So essentially, this is a situation where Kuminga kind of has to go back to the Warriors to get paid, and the Warriors kind of have to keep Kuminga because they don't want to lose him for nothing, but neither of them really want to be there. They don't want to be together, but they kind of have to. It's a very weird situation. And anytime you have a negotiation that goes on this long, it's clear that there is leverage on both sides. The Warriors have the leverage of nobody out there can pay you as much as we can, as much as we have already offered to pay you. And anytime you have a negotiation that goes on this long, it's clear that both sides have leverage. The Warriors have the leverage of restricted free agency, where he can't really leave unless the Warriors let him leave, and they're really the only team left that can offer him a significant amount of money, and they've already put offers on the table in excess of $20 million a year, and that's just not really something that Kuminga at this point really wants to walk away from, given some of his other just not that good options, whereas Kuminga, as I said earlier, is holding up the entire offseason. His leverage right now is hoping that the Warriors get desperate and get nervous as we get closer to training camp and realize, hey, we need to sign this dude so that we can sign the rest of our players for training camp that starts in a couple of weeks. So clearly there's leverage on each side. That's how you have a stalemate that lasts this long. In terms of the negotiations and the details that we are now getting from this ESPN article, first and foremost, the biggest holdup of the entire situation is the team option for Jonathan Kuminga. The Warriors have offered him a 2-year deal worth more than $20 million a year. However, the second year on that contract has a team option. The Warriors want to have the ability to let Jonathan Kuminga go into 2026 free agency if he has a bad season, if he gets hurt. They don't want to commit long-term to Jonathan Kuminga because they don't really know if he's actually any good. They just kind of want to keep him because they can't replace him as an asset without a sign-and trade, which we'll get to later. And they've got Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy Butler all on the same timeline for the next 2 seasons. They don't want to commit longer than that to Jonathan Kuminga because, again, they're just not sure if he's any good, and the team option helps them do all of that. Kuminga, understandably, does not want a team option, and he wants a no trade clause in his contract, which is typical for restricted free agents because he's had a weird start to his career. He's had frustrations with his role in Golden State, and if things go poorly, if he doesn't have a good season, he wants to have the opportunity to pick what team he goes to while also being fairly compensated and having the no trade clause to prevent the Warriors from trading him to a bad team or a team that he doesn't see as a good fit. And then also eliminating the team option of all this ensures that whatever he signs for is actually the amount of money that he's going to get. And that offer, that 2-year deal with a team option, has been on the table for months. And as a result of the team option, Kuminga and his camp have said no consistently for months. And as it became clear that Kuminga was not interested in that deal, then the Warriors started exploring sign and trade possibilities, which seems like the most realistic, or at least seemed like the most realistic outcome of this situation, because that gave the Warriors the ability to retain Kuminga as an asset because of the way the salary cap works in the NBA. If they just let him leave for nothing, that's terrible business by them because Kuminga is worth something in a trade and they don't have cap space to sign anybody in his slot. So it makes sense to get something out of him, even if they don't actually want him on their team, which is why they've been insistent on bringing him back on some kind of contract. If that wasn't the case, then they could just sign and trade him. And primarily, the 2 teams that have come up in sign and trades were the Sacramento Kings and the Phoenix Suns. The Suns were offering Royce O'Neal in a second, and the Sacramento Kings, interestingly, were offering Malik Monk and a future first-round pick. And this is just me. If I'm the Warriors and you got offered Malik Monk and a first-round pick in exchange for Jonathan Kuminga, I'm unsure why we're still doing this, why I'm still making this video, why this is a situation that has lasted until mid-September, because I'd love a future first-round pick from the Kings. I really don't mind having Malik Monk. It's like a really good bench scorer, someone else that can create on the ball. I understand that it's different player types, and then you're crowded in the backcourt. You don't have a front court replacement for Kuminga, but if the options are wait until mid-September, still not have my roster finalized, still not have Kuminga on a contract, or 2 months ago, trade him for Malik Monk and a first-round pick, I'm definitely taking the Sacramento option. So it's clear at this point that the Warriors, and it's reported in this article as well, that since mid-August, the Warriors have just decided we're not doing sign and trades. We don't like the Suns offer. We don't like the Kings offer. Those are the only two teams that are really committed to trying to bring in Kuminga. And there's also some uncertainty in terms of whether Kuminga would want to go to those teams, despite the fact that he's been pretty much promised a prominent starting role on each of those teams. So at this point, we've just eliminated the sign and trade possibility, which means that after months and months and months of negotiating, Kuminga and the Warriors have to find a way to agree to a contract. And there's a couple of different ways in which they can do that. Right now, Kuminga wants a player option and the Warriors want a team option. It seems like both of them are going to have to compromise somewhere in the middle and say, okay, there are no options. We need to just have like a 2-year deal or 3-year deal. The money needs to go down on Kuminga's side or the money needs to go up on the Warriors side. Whatever the case may be, the option can't be involved. Kuminga needs to feel fairly compensated and the Warriors just need to move on with their offseason. Like they need to figure out a way that they're going to be fielding a competitive or semi-competitive roster going into the season with training camp so close. And with that in mind, the Warriors did offer Kuminga a non-team option deal. It was 3 years and $54 million, but given the overall market value for Kuminga, that's definitely a lower number, but that was the cost they felt like of eliminating the team option on the deal. They also offered him a 3-year deal worth around $75 million that had the team option back on there. And from the Warriors side, that's pretty much where they stand. You can do 2-year team option, you can do 3-year team option, or you can take a lot less money and take a 3-year deal that does not have a team option. But there are some other creative solutions that were thrown around here because obviously Kuminga could just do the thing that Cam Thomas did, whatever it was, a week and a half ago at this point, where he just signs the qualifying offer, goes into unrestricted free agency in 2026 and takes a pay cut this year, only makes like $8 million this year, but gets to go into 2026 and do whatever, sign wherever. That obviously puts a lot of risk on what the Warriors do with him during the year. Do they really not play him that much? What is his role going to be? That you go into next year and you really feel like your value isn't there, depending on what kind of a season you have. Obviously, you get hurt as well. There's obviously a lot of risk there with the qualifying offer. So another solution that was thrown out was like a semi-qualifying offer where they signed Kuminga to a 1-year deal, which is what the qualifying offer would be, but it's for a little bit more. It's for a bigger number, and it just takes away some of the restrictions as well. So like he could get traded midseason, and that was a solution that made a little bit of sense, and the Warriors just were not interested. They were like, we're going to do the team option thing, or you're going to do the lesser money thing with no team option, or you're going to take the qualifying offer. Like the Warriors know that at some point Kuminga has to sign some kind of deal. They know that they have more leverage at this point than Kuminga does. But the interesting thing to me is the closer that we get to training camp, the closer that sliding scale starts to go towards Kuminga. It starts to go towards, hey, you can't field your team because of the way the cap rules are, because you want to stay under this number and this tax apron and this, luxury tax threshold, and you want to field all these other guys. You want to add D'Anthony Melton. You want to add whatever big guy in the front court. Because you want to do all of those things, you have to deal with the Kuminga situation first. You have to know what his number is. And if he just continues to refuse to sign, then the Warriors are getting to a situation where they're going to start training camp with 9 guys. And that's just not an option, which I also think is probably why this article came out today. Like, why would this come out all of a sudden randomly if this wasn't leaked by someone or meant to put pressure on one team or another, one camp or another, I should say? Clearly, there's an agenda behind this report, and it gives us a full idea of where exactly the Kuminga situation is at. And where it's at is where it's been for a couple of months. They can't agree on a deal. The Warriors have shut down sign and trades, and now we just wait for someone to cave. And the bottom line is, and really the funniest part of all this, is it's clearly a relationship of convenience. The Warriors don't really want Kuminga on the team next year. If they could replace him with somebody just as good, they probably would. And I don't think Kuminga wants to be on the Warriors either. He wants to be on a team where he's going to have more of a role. He's frustrated with the coaching staff. He hasn't really been happy there for the last couple of years. But because of the way things have gone down this offseason, they kind of have to figure out a way to work together, to live together, to do this thing. And it's just a very funny situation that it's mid-September and they still can't figure this out.